There aren't many punters who became household names. Honestly, there might only be one. This was a guy who could boom 60-yard punts like it was nothing, put massive hits on returners like a linebacker, and then celebrate like he just won a championship. Pat McAfee made punting must-see TV every single Sunday. But at just 29 years old, coming off a Pro Bowl season, he stunned the NFL and walked away. Not because he lost his touch, but because he had a bigger vision. Since then, he's built a media empire, called matches for WWE, and become one of the loudest voices in all of sports. But when people hear the name Pat McAfee today, do they think about the punter or just the personality? So just how good was Pat McAfee actually? Even as a kid, Pat was a natural. He played varsity soccer, volleyball, and football. If a ball was involved, he was on it, and he was good. Good enough that college scouts were already sniffing around, trying to figure out which sport they could get him for. By the time he was a sophomore, Pat had already won a national punt, pass, and kick championship. Not bad for a kid who hadn't even started driving yet. During his senior year, Pat did something only he would think of. He borrowed $100 from a friend, walked into an underground poker game, and turned it into $1,400. Just enough to buy a one-way ticket to a national kicking event in Florida. No parents, no plan. Just a mission to prove he had the biggest leg in the country. At that competition, he stepped up and started drilling field goals one after another. 9 straight kicks, each from farther out than the last. Then came the big one, a 70-yarder. He launched it with everything he had. The ball had the distance to clear the crossbar, but drifted just right. Still, it was more than enough, because standing on the sideline was West Virginia recruiting coordinator Tony Gibson, who walked straight over, looked Pat in the eye, and handed him a scholarship on the spot. Pat McAfee was going to be a Mountaineer. Pat McAfee arrived in Morgantown with a massive leg and even bigger confidence. In his freshman season, he launched 70 kickoffs and drilled 20 of them into the end zone for touchbacks. But it was a freezing night against Louisville that made people really sit up and pay attention. The Mountaineers were grinding through a triple overtime war, every possession feeling like life or death. When the offense needed one more shot, Pat jogged out, set the ball on the tee, and delivered a perfect onside kick. Steve Slayton punched in the tying touchdown one play later. West Virginia went on to win 46-44, and Pat had his first taste of real big game chaos. The next year brought 10 wins and a Gator Bowl trophy. But college football has a way of testing you when you least expect it. Pat's junior season started with a missed extra point against Western Michigan, snapping his streak of 106 straight makes. Then, in a painful 13-9 loss to Pittsburgh, a team with only 4 wins, he missed 2 short field goals that killed the team's championship hopes. In the Fiesta Bowl, he went just 2 for 4 with 1 blocked. The pressure was real and the spotlight was brutal, but McAfee never cracked. Senior year, he came back locked in. He hit a career-long 52-yarder in the opener and kept climbing the school scoring charts, eventually passing Steve Slayton to become West Virginia's all-time points leader. By the time he left, Pat was more than just a kicker and punter. He was fearless, electric, and the kind of player who made you watch just to see what he'd pull off next. NFL scouts noticed. They always do. In the 7th round of the 2009 NFL Draft, the call came in, the Indianapolis Colts. Now, most punters never hear their name called on draft day. They claw onto rosters as undrafted free agents, bouncing from tryout to tryout, begging for one shot. But the Colts saw something different in Pat McAfee. They loved the booming kickoff that could pin opponents deep. They liked the precise hang-time punts that flipped field position. And they couldn't ignore the swagger and edge that made him impossible to overlook, something almost unheard of for a special teams player. And this wasn't some rebuilding franchise taking a flyer either. This was the Indianapolis Colts, loaded with veterans, led by Peyton Manning, and built to win right now. They didn't draft guys for fun. So when Pat walked into that facility, he wasn't eased in gently. He was handed punting, kickoff, and holding duties immediately. 3 high-pressure jobs expected to be mastered from day one. A 7th-round rookie trusted with 3 of the most critical and overlooked roles on the team. Nobody knew if the loud, confident kid with the big leg would even last a full season. But on Sundays, McAfee showed up every time. The Colts rolled through the season, won the AFC South, dominated the playoffs, and punched their ticket to Super Bowl 44. Under the biggest lights in football, McAfee handled every kickoff, every punt, every hold, without blinking. The Colts fell short, losing 31-17 to the Saints, but McAfee never missed a beat. His rookie year earned him a spot on the NFL All-Rookie team. Then he set out to prove he wasn't a one-year wonder. By 2011, he was averaging 46.6 yards per punt. A year later, 48.2, climbing into the elite tier of NFL specialists. But here's the thing about Pat. Most punters stay invisible, do their job, trot off the field, and hope nobody notices. Pat never understood that approach. From day one in the NFL, he made punting an event. When he pinned someone deep, he'd sprint around like he just won it all. He'd trash talk, and if a returner thought they could embarrass him, that's when Pat really woke up.
In September 2014, McAfee turned into a one-man special teams wrecking crew. He led the whole NFL in kickoff touchbacks, kept opponents pinned deep all season, and pulled off 3 onside kicks, even recovering one himself. No punter in the league was having more fun or making more noise. And that same season, the Colts locker room got an unexpected moment of chaos when Pat snapped the photo of Adam Vinatieri mid-interview, not realizing Andrew Luck was standing right behind him, nearly completely naked. The photo hit Twitter instantly, and McAfee had to swallow a $10,000 fine. When December arrived, he was named to his first Pro Bowl and earned first-team All-Pro honors. Whenever the Colts needed something unpredictable, Pat was the answer. Fake punts, trick plays, even emergency quarterback duty when every QB on the roster went down. In 2016, he was still bombing missiles, nearly 49 yards per punt, the best mark in the entire NFL. Another Pro Bowl, another season of pure highlights. But behind all the celebrations and viral clips, McAfee's body was quietly breaking down. 3 knee surgeries in 4 years had him waking up stiff every morning, wondering how much longer he could keep doing this. And in the front office, his relationship with GM Ryan Grigson had completely fallen apart. So on February 2nd, 2017, he made the call. At 29 years old, still in his prime, he retired. Not because he couldn't punt anymore, because he had something much bigger in mind.
When Pat McAfee walked away from football, a lot of people thought he'd lost his mind. He was 29, fresh off a Pro Bowl season, still one of the best punters in the game. But Pat was never the type to just blend in. A few weeks after retiring, he packed up that massive personality and that even bigger voice and joined Barstool Sports. He launched podcasts, wrote blogs, and started turning his raw, unfiltered storytelling into something fans genuinely couldn't stop watching. It didn't take long before he blew right past Barstool's walls. In 2019, he launched The Pat McAfee Show, a daily sports program that blended wild humor, deep NFL knowledge, and the kind of brutal honesty you never get from ex-players trying to protect their industry friendships. Thousands tuned in every single day to hear Pat break down games, laugh at his own career, and call out players and teams without a single hesitation. He didn't sound like a polished broadcaster reading off a teleprompter. He sounded like the smartest guy at the bar, the one who just happened to know everything about football. By 2022, McAfee had grown so big that ESPN tapped him to join the legendary College Game Day show, and he took it to another level entirely. His energy, his passion, and the way he connected with fans in the crowd was unlike anything anyone had seen before. Viral moments followed everywhere he went. Like in 2023, ahead of one of the most hyped college football games in years, Georgia versus Alabama. When asked who he was picking, McAfee started a chant. He got the Georgia fans absolutely fired up. And then,
moments like that helped McAfee's personal show explode into something nobody expected. What started as a YouTube project that plenty of people bet against became a full-blown juggernaut. He locked in deals with DraftKings, ESPN, and FanDuel, becoming the first YouTube sports show ever signed by a major network. He jumped into WWE as a color commentator, living out a childhood dream in pro wrestling. He raised millions for charity, brought in guests from across every sport, and built a genuine media empire with his name on the front door. He became a bigger media star than he ever was a punter. So that brings us back to the real question. Just how good was Pat McAfee? He averaged 46.4 yards per punt for his entire career. He led the whole league in average distance in 2016. He earned 2 Pro Bowls and a first-team All-Pro. He even got nominated for the Pro Football Hall of Fame, something almost no punter ever comes close to. And when he found out, Pat was completely stunned and felt like other guys deserved it way more than him.
And honestly, he had a point. There were punters with longer career averages, more total yardage, and bigger stat collections. But the numbers alone don't come close to telling the full story of how good Pat McAfee actually was. No spreadsheet shows you how he made punting genuinely exciting to watch. It doesn't measure how he could flip field position with one booming kick and then sprint downfield and lay out the returner himself. The box score doesn't tell you how he was trusted to run fakes, throw passes, or step in as the emergency quarterback when disaster struck.
Every time the Colts needed something unexpected, McAfee was the guy they turned to. In 2014 alone, he pulled off 3 successful onside kicks, including one he recovered himself. He hit pinpoint coffin corner punts that trapped teams inside their own 5-yard line. And when he made a big play, he celebrated like nobody else, arms flying, jumping around, pulling the whole stadium into the moment with him. He played with swagger, energy, and a sense of humor that made him flat out impossible to ignore. Whether he was launching 60-yard bombs or laying out returners like a linebacker, Pat McAfee had a rare gift for making special teams actually fun to watch. And that's what truly set him apart from everyone else. So if you judge him purely by the stat sheet, sure, there are punters with more polished numbers. But if you measure him by impact, entertainment, confidence, and how he completely changed the way the world thinks about punters, it's crystal clear. Pat McAfee wasn't just good, he was one of a kind. If you enjoyed this video, stick with Blitz, subscribe, and check out some of our other content right here.